Major League Baseball hits a home run, and the Athletic faces a challenger. All that and more coming up next.
Welcome to the Sports Media Beat with your host, Dan Lovallo.
Major League Baseball season is underway. For how long, who knows? We've already seen the Marlins and the Orioles postponed twice. Same for the Yankees and the Phillies, as I put this podcast together on Tuesday, July 28th. But when the season opened last Thursday night, the Yankees-Washington Nationals game scored big. In fact, it was the largest opening night telecast ever for Major League Baseball, a record 4 million watching the defending World Series champion Washington Nationals against the New York Yankees. 4 million viewers. That, according to Nielsen, the telecast the most watched regular season Major League Baseball game on any network since 2011. And that was followed by the Dodgers against the San Francisco Giants, and that scored well in the ratings, too. The Giants-Dodgers generating an average audience of 2.76 million viewers. Most watched MLB regular season late night game in the Eastern time zone ever. So baseball scored well in that department. Then the but comes in. What's the but? Well, you look at the ratings for the weekend, little bit different. In fact, the Sunday night game between the Mets and the Braves did not go all that well. Of course, that was the blowout, so I could understand why that one tanked. But let's look at the Yankees-Nationals game on Fox on Saturday night. That got a 1.6 rating, 2.79 million viewers. And that was an uptick in ratings, an 18% increase in viewership from the network's first primetime window last season, but that was back in May of last year when they aired the Cubs-Nationals. That got a 1.5 rating, 2.36 million viewers. Earlier in the day, Fox carried the Giants-Dodgers. That got a 1.3 rating, a 1.97 million share. And the Cubs and the Brewers, also on Fox, the first game of their triple-header, scored a 1.3 rating, 1.91 million viewers. But then you take a look at what happened in the Sunday night game between the Mets and the Braves. That game was telecast by ESPN, and it averaged not too well. Got a, 1.39 million viewers, a 0.9 rating. That was down 18% in ratings, 25% in viewership. And the game was a blowout. Braves, what did they win, 14-1? So you can understand why it didn't score so well, and it was a blowout almost from the beginning. It was over before it was over. So the Braves-Mets getting a 0.9 rating, 1.39 million viewers. Let's see, how else did baseball do over the weekend? TBS carried the Yankees-Nationals on Sunday. The Yankees comeback win. That got a 0.39 rating, 653,000 viewers, up 56% in ratings and 65% in viewership in comparison to a game carried by TBS at the same time of year in 2019. FS1 carried the Diamondbacks and the Padres, and that game got a 0.17 rating, 279,000 viewers. Now, you might ask yourself, well, why would you bother carrying baseball? Well, even when you look at an FS1, maybe they're not getting 279,000 viewers for their programming at that time of day. So for those channels or those stations, that works very well for them. But those are the early baseball readings. Who knows what's going to happen? Big news right before the start of the season, and that was the fact the Cubs' new network, the Marquee Sports Network, secured a last-minute deal with Comcast. Comcast has over 1 million subscribers in the Chicago Cubs market, and that's always the big challenge when these teams start their own sports channel to get on cable networks. For years, we saw what happened with the Dodgers and their Sportsnet LA and Comcast, and how the two sites couldn't get together. And so actually it was the Dodgers and Sportsnet LA with AT&T. The Dodgers, Sportsnet LA, their channel, and AT&T for years, 6 years they battled. And finally they came to an agreement with AT&T, which covers most of the Los Angeles area, carrying Dodgers games. So that was a big to-do, but right before the season started, Marquee Sports Network, the Cubs' new network, getting that deal with Comcast. Now there are concerns with local media, and by that I mean what's going on with these baseball games and all of the remote coverage, because it's getting to the point now where some of these networks covering the games are using remote cameras. So you don't need as many people on camera, on site, to cover the game. And the fear is, and the New York Times did a story about this, the fear is because of that you are not going to see as many jobs. That after the pandemic, a lot of the people who count money and, the suits who are the bean counters are going to say, well, why do we need somebody to operate the camera? Why do we need 10 people to operate the camera? We can use 5 people and have 15 cameras. The rest can be remote. You're seeing this more and more. And so the New York Times did a story. Maybe I'll link to it. Maybe I won't. The reason I'm hesitant to link to the story in my show notes at sportsmediabeat.com is because there's a paywall. And with the paywall, you're not going to be able to get the story anyway. But if they allow you so many stories before they start charging you, on second thought, I'll probably link to it. Don't bother me. Don't mind me. I'm just thinking out loud. You can bother me all you want, but just don't mind me. I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe I'll link to it. I'll link to the story in the show notes, and you deal about the paywall. How's that? Amazon. Remember they were going to carry New York Yankees games, stream Yankees games? Well, not going to happen. Amazon's effort to stream Yankee games in 2020, not going to happen because of COVID-19. There are going to be fewer games available on the YES network because there are going to be fewer games played. And so because of this, the original plan of Amazon streaming some of the New York Yankees games in 2020, not going to happen in 2020. Simple as that. Now, here is a big story as far as an effort to take on the website The Athletic, another subscription-based website which provides extensive sports news, particularly of your favorite team. Google is combining, this is Google News and the Google News Initiative is working on a combined basis with newspapers across the country, local papers across the country, to put together a sports news website of its own. And you would get the local coverage you expect when you follow a local team and read the local newspaper, those who still read the local newspaper, or access the newspaper on a website. But you have to be a subscriber. So in other words, if you subscribe to the New York Times, you would have access to, through this Google News Initiative, you would have access by way of Google News Initiative and this sports website to local sports content across the country. So let's say you subscribe to the New York Times, you live in New York, and you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. You'd like to read the Dallas Morning News, but you're not going to subscribe to the Dallas Morning News and their coverage of the Dallas Cowboys because you can only afford so many subscriptions. But you do subscribe to the New York Times. Well, by way of this consortium being put together by the Google News Initiative, this sports collaborative, you'll now be able, by way of the sports website, to access sports content from the Dallas Morning News. This is big because the initiative is designed to take on a Barstool Sports, The Athletic, and don't kid yourself, The Athletic particularly is paying attention, and so is Barstool Sports, but The Athletic is paying attention because there is a challenge to their model, and their model, which was succeeding, has taken a hit in a big way. and it's because of the pandemic. But now they're going to get some competition in this area beyond the pandemic, and they could pay a steep price. Ratings. Interesting weekend ratings. Let's start with golf. Golf did not score as well, but soccer did very well. And let's start with the National Women's Soccer League, because CBS carried the National Women's Soccer League on Sunday, and the ratings were pretty strong. This was the prelude into the golf. Sunday's Houston-Chicago NWSL Challenge Cup. The Challenge Cup final averaged a .44 rating and 653,000 viewers. So that was very good for the NWSL. Now the golf. This was the PGA Tour's weekend event, the 3M tournament in Minneapolis. Easy for me to say, right? In Minneapolis, averaged a 1.7 rating, 2.6 million viewers, a bit of an uptick. That was Sunday's final round. And the lead-in on the Golf Channel on Saturday got a .43 rating, a .56 rating, 846,000 viewers. That was Saturday. Sunday, it got a .43 rating, 607,000 viewers. WNBA, Sunday's WNBA regular season game on ABC between Chicago and Las Vegas got a .32 rating, 433,000 viewers. Also the same day, Sunday on ESPN, Connecticut and Minnesota got a .14 rating, 202,000 viewers on ESPN. NBC averaged a 2.4 rating, 341,000 viewers for Sunday's Water Dogs Atlas Premier Lacrosse League game. So that was a pretty good number for NBC as sports continues its comeback in the media. One other note, and it involves NASCAR. NASCAR ratings not as strong, and this is going back almost a week. Thursday's NASCAR Cup Series from Kansas, and that was opposite the baseball game, carried on the NBC Sports Network, averaged a .9 rating and 1.47 million viewers, and that marked the least watched Cup race on any network since at least 2000. So ratings taking a bit of a hit after they were really solid earlier when the season resumed. That's going to do it for the Sports Media Beat. As always, thanks for listening. We are in all of the major podcast directories, the Apple Podcast Directory, Google's Podcast Directory. We're on TuneIn. You can ask the lady in the tube to carry the podcast. And we also have our website, sportsmediabeat.com. You can email me, Dan@danlavallo.com. And again, thanks for listening to the Sports Media Beat.